Hey everyone, it's David from the Geek Garage podcast. I just wanted to take a quick second to tell you about our new partnership with Everyday Superhero Training. They are a gym in Nashville, Tennessee that you should definitely check out. The gym is ran by Julian and Lydia, who make up the Everyday Superhero Training team. And what Everyday Superhero Training is a nerd-centric, holistic, personal training and group fitness wellness program taught through the modalities of RPGs, video games, comic books, superheroes, and pop culture nerdiness. Just a few things that they have to offer is a free digital magazine that covers everything that they nerd out about, and it is delivered straight to your email inbox. They have a soon-to-be famous Mission Quest fitness RPG, Nerd Skills, which is a class that uses specific training tactics to help you improve at activities you already enjoy, superhero tinted group classes, personal training integrated into every level of membership, a supportive and positive environment that wants to hear more about your current D&D campaign or show that you're currently binging, and then how much you can bench. So please support Julian and Lydia by visiting everydaysuperherotraining.com for more info on this amazing gym. Thank you.
Hey, hello, what's up, and welcome into this week's episode of the Geek Garage. This is episode number 40. We saw, we GalaxyCon-quered. Joining me, as always, is show founder David. What's up, David?
Hey, Ted. How are you?
Doing well, man. I'm finally recovered from the weekend that was GalaxyCon. When you're old, it takes longer.
Yes. Yeah, it does. We just as we were getting back into the swing of things, Thanksgiving rolls around, all the food kicked my ass. So yeah.
So I basically went from physically exhausted to full of Thanksgiving food, and then exhausted because of that. So finally on the road to recovery now. So we decided it was a good time to take a minute to look back at GalaxyCon and talk about our experience there. So I think first things first, just a big thank you to the people who run GalaxyCon for even having us.
Yeah, for sure. We were talking a lot about this just, before, during, and after the con that, they could have picked anyone. They could have picked people that have, been coming to the convention for a really long time now. It seems like they took a chance on choosing us who have never been to this convention, have never attended
don't have a huge following
right.
necessarily when compared to some of the other people there. So
right. And the fact that we're not quote unquote artists, how we did kind of stick out a little bit, and
there's no quote unquote about it. We're definitely not artists.
This is true. I was mainly referring to the fact that we weren't selling anything, but
sure.
Yeah. Definitely echo what you said. We just want to extend a huge thank you to GalaxyCon for letting us come in and promote our brand and get to talk to people. It's very much appreciated. And the people that ran the con, Ted, I know that you'll echo this as well. Just super professional. Everything was so well run.
Definitely. They definitely had their shit together, both in terms of beforehand, as we were running around like idiots trying to prep. They answered all of our questions and gave us the okay for certain things. They were like, no, we can't really let you do that because of this or that. And while disappointing to hear that, I mean, I definitely get it. They're trying to run a convention at a fairly large scale, so they don't want to screw that up. So or they don't want us screwing that up, I should say. So I definitely understand that. But yeah, and then during it, I've been to a lot of conventions in my life, not all of them like comic book or, GalaxyCon type conventions, but just sort of conventions in general for work or for music or for what have you. And I can say that this one was definitely much more well managed than some of the others I've been to.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody that was there, both as an employee of GalaxyCon or their parent company, or just a volunteer helping out, they knew exactly what to do, how to do it, and helped out in a bunch of different ways. So big thank you to everybody from GalaxyCon, as well as all the people that worked at the Kentucky International Convention Center for just being on top of it and helping out.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go ahead and get into like first overall impressions, other than us being eternally grateful to GalaxyCon just in general. um I think humbled is the first word that comes to mind when I think about like my feelings in regards to the convention itself. Like I felt so humbled in the presence of all these amazing, talented artists and vendors that we got to know, and we got to look at their artwork and talk about their process. And and also all the people that came by our booth. Everyone was just so incredibly nice, and aside from the fact that they were just willing to like talk to us, was pretty incredible.
Right. Yeah, I think just the idea that a lot of the people that, well, first let me say, I definitely echo what you were saying. It's very humbling that we were there, especially surrounded by such talented people when we're basically hacks.
Right.
But just for the people that came up and listened to our spiel, or talked to us about the podcast, like it was notable to me that they all seemed genuinely interested in the idea. And what I mean by that is, I had several people talk to me and be like, "Oh, it's really cool that you guys are so open-ended or so broad spectrum with what you cover."
Mhm.
Because the podcast has covered so many different things, and we have ideas for even more things that we want to cover that are, kind of out there and broad spectrum again. And so many people said that, and we're like, I listen to this podcast and all they do is talk about like Disney stuff. So I have to go to this podcast and they talk about like comic books, or D&D or the MCU or what have you. So they're like, I've got to listen to like 5 different podcasts to really keep up with the things I like. Whereas you guys cover a little bit of everything. So even stuff that maybe they weren't into, they're like, I learned a little bit about it from your show, or I could learn a little bit about it from your show, which I thought was cool and kind of reassuring, because I know one of the things that you and I talked about before is like, do we need to maybe narrow our focus to 2 or 3 things, or can we keep it sustainable talking about so many different things, and like, can we keep people interested in so many different things? And I think the answer to that is we can.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Like, that was a feeling I had from day one. I don't think anyone ever really like came out and said like, "Oh, you cover like too broad of topics," in your show. But it was just a worry of mine, and just like you said, it was kind of solidified this weekend that wasn't really the case, that people actually enjoy the fact that we talk about so many different things. We're not so I guess, for lack of better words, narrow-minded or too niche, that we're just going
Right.
to cover anime or just cosplay or just Netflix shows. Like we kind of do it all. And as I said, it was a worry for a very long time of mine that it was too broad. But it's definitely apparent by now that that's actually one of the things that we have going for us as a podcast, is that we have that
For
flexibility
sure.
to kind of touch on a bunch of different things and bounce around to whatever we feel like maybe most appropriate, due to like if we want to cover like contemporary topics like movies that are coming out, or whatever, or we want to just talk on evergreen topics like cosplay and be like, hey, what's it like to do a DIY cosplay. So
Right.
yeah, it's cool to have that flexibility.
For sure. And I also think it's interesting that a lot of people not only thought it was cool that we were so broad spectrum, but like we're willing to just pitch ideas to. I mean, for a lot of those people, they'd never listened to us before, had maybe never even heard of us,
Right.
and they're just like, "Oh, check out this and do an episode on that." Like, it was just very reassuring that like the geek culture or nerddom, or whatever you want to call it, is like still very much like, I guess, together in a sense, so that
Right.
like willing to help one another. I thought that was really cool to see that that's kind of still a thing, because you go on like Twitter or whatever, and you have all these people that are quote unquote fans, but they're just like, oh, well, that thing over there sucks. I only like this. So it's good to know that like that's still not the norm. The
Right.
norm is still like supportive across the board.
Right, yeah. One thing that I found probably the most interesting, aside from all the things we've talked about so far, is the platforms that people listen to our show or listen to podcasts in general. Like Spotify came up a lot, as well as YouTube,
Yeah.
which we had discussed previously on the podcast. How we
Mhm.
wanted to start making sure all our episodes are available on YouTube, even just the audio and like a still like thumbnail for
Sure.
whatever. But I think one of the most popular questions we were asked in regards to where we're located on the internet, and just in general, was like, hey, are you guys on Spotify? And I was so excited to be able to tell them yes, because
Yeah, for sure. I would say that Spotify was probably like the number one answer from people when we were like, or asking us where we were available as is,
right,
because it's kind of Spotify is kind of morphed into like one stop shopping
yeah,
almost. Like you can get almost all the music you could ever want there.
plus podcasts,
Plus podcasts now. So it's like, why would you need another
yeah,
app? Not to say that the other apps are not as
yeah,
good. Like I personally don't use Spotify, but I know a lot of people do, and it's just the convenience of just being able to get everything on one app is really cool. As for YouTube, we have talked about that on the show before. When we went to MTAC last year, or rather earlier this year, we were both very like, people, what? Like
right,
that's not what YouTube is for.
yeah.
But hey, whatever works. I know one of the popular things, particularly among people who said that they use YouTube for podcasts, is they're able to just pull that up like on their work computer in their browser and just kind of have it in the background
Yeah.
running. And it's just easier for them. So I dig that. That's not how I would do it, but whatever works. Hey, as long as you're listening, right?
Right.
That's the whole point. So
Yes. I mean, like, if you are listening to the show, the last thing on my mind is, oh, what platform are you using? Like, I'm just elated to the moon and back that you're actually listening to our show, because any two
for
idiots can
sure.
pull up a microphone, plug it into a computer, and talk for an hour or two. So,
And plenty of them
yeah,
have,
right.
including
Yes,
us.
including
So,
us. We're
you
still
know,
idiots with a
yes,
microphone. We just,
yes,
do public
yes.
appearances, which
Although handsome idiots, I would say
yes,
at least. So,
absolutely. As long as you don't judge me too harshly
well,
on my lack of hair, you know.
yes, or my anything else that detracts. But we're moving right along
Right,
from
right.
that.
And yeah, and
um,
speaking of public appearances, this is probably the one of the last big takeaways that I had taken down, and I know both you and I agree, is like doing more public appearances like this are incredibly beneficial to the podcast, at least right now. Because like
right,
with social media, you can only do so much. Before you get into like the area of paid advertising and stuff, which, is fine. But like, just, I think you put it in a certain way, like, social media, you feel like kind of like shouting into the void almost.
yeah. Basically, with social media, it's like it's so inundated. There's so many people. It's basically just like even if you use all your like marketing skills and know what hashtags to use and all that, like there's still thousands and thousands or millions of other people doing the same thing.
Right.
So at a certain point, it's just like, oh, here's the 15,000th post about um, whatever episode, like Umbrella Academy, just to use a recent episode example. Like, oh, here's somebody else talking about it along with these other 15,000 people or whatever. So at a certain point, it's just like it's ineffective
Right.
unless you do, like you said, like paid advertising, which even that is not a guarantee of efficacy. Whereas meeting people face to face, like you can get that, even if it's only like a minute, 30 seconds or a minute, you get that one-on-one time. And if people are genuinely interested, then you've made some connection and they'll check it out. Like we had a lot of people that came up, they're like, yeah, I've never heard of you guys, but I love podcasts. And obviously like I love geeky stuff since I'm here. So, sure, let me take a card, or, are you guys on Spotify? And there were several people that like pulled up and subscribed right on the spot.
Yeah.
So, Thank you for that. I don't know that you'll want to keep listening after you hear the first episode, but hey, that subscription counts. So we're
Yeah,
gonna
no,
we're gonna thank you for it.
yeah, I definitely after that weekend, I gave it a few days to let people kind of get settled after the convention, and give them a chance to go through their pockets. And I'm sure they had more than just our business card in their
For
pocket.
sure.
So I wanted to give them a couple days before I went and checked our numbers on our podcast hosting to see if our downloads increased, and it does look like they are going up from before the weekend, so it's a good
That's
sign.
good.
Yeah. So yeah, we definitely want to you know say thank you to all those people that came by and subscribed on the spot, or
For
took a
sure.
button,
For
took a
sure.
card, showed interest. And
Right.
so
Yeah, and I think that's an easy way to transition into talking about what from our setup worked. And I think the fact that we had a free product, so to speak,
right.
worked in our favor.
Yeah, for sure.
Not to knock any of the people around us, or any of the artists who were selling their works, because obviously, like, if I could draw and was at a convention, I'd want to try and sell it as well, because that's something that you have to work on,
Right.
right? Whereas, like we said earlier, any two idiots can grab microphones and put a podcast out there, and plenty have, including us.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but at the same time, people were just like, they would come by and be like, "Oh, the buttons are free," and then they look and they'd be like, "Well, what are you guys? What do you do?"
Yeah.
So that kind of gave us a way in. I also want to thank all the artists that were around us who put up their worst work upon request to make us look better
Yeah.
by proxy. So thank you for that. I'm sure that hurt you all, but helped us tremendously. So I appreciate that. All jokes aside, everybody around us was super talented, and we'll get into that more later.
Right.
But yeah, definitely having a free product, as well as just some of the ideas that you had, like the Keanu poster, was brilliant.
Right. Yeah. For those listening but didn't attend the convention, we had a couple different posters. The poster that worked really well was the one that Ted just spoke about. We had a couple different, one actual meme and then two just kind of like pictures, and they were of Keanu Reeves. And we basically told
In all his glory.
right. We basically told everyone that Keanu Reeves was our unofficial spokesperson. He just didn't know it yet.
Yes.
And it got people's attention, and they'd be like,
For
Keanu's
sure.
the man, and be like, damn right he is.
Yes, he
And
is. Fucking
right.
right.
And we just put like the words Keanu Reeves thinks you need some Geek Garage swag. And so that definitely got some people to stop. And then of course we had to make our little impromptu sign that said free buttons, because as you said, people would come by and be like
Yeah.
oh, they're free, like
How much are the buttons?
yeah,
They're free.
right, yeah. And we're like, oh,
I wouldn't pay for these. I don't expect you to either.
right. And then I'd say probably one of the most or the most successful part of the weekend, as far as like what we had to offer, were our OK Boomer grab bags.
Yeah, if you had told me that some dipshit idea I had via text, that it just like talking to you, would have ever done anything, I would not have believed it.
Right.
It happened, and I'm still not sure I believe it. So the whole birth of this is like, of course, the OK Boomer meme is all over social media, all over everywhere. And we were just kind of talking one night via text, and I was like, what if we do OK Boomer grab bags? Just sort of like half jokingly, because I legitimately thought you'd be like, that's shut the fuck up forever, Ted. That's so stupid. But basically it was just like a baggie, like a plastic bag with old people candy. So like a Werther's and one of those strawberry bonbon candies that nobody knows where they come from. And then a business card. We slapped those together, made a quick meme of the Avengers scene, or the Spider-Man scene, where Tony Stark is like, if you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it. We just changed that to say, if you're nothing without one of our grab bags, you shouldn't have it. And then Parker/Spider-Man's response is OK Boomer.
Right.
And like, people went bananas over that
Yeah.
shit. Like, not only did people that come up and like have a good laugh about it, but like there were people that came up and they're like, "Are you the guys with the OK Boomer grab bags?" And we were like, "Yes, at least you know us for something."
Right. Yeah. I guess it's best to be known for something than to be known for nothing. So
yeah, to not be known. So yeah, but it was just like, we literally had to go. We ran out.
Yeah.
We straight up ran out of those like Saturday, and had to go get more. more stuff to make them, and then it completely ran out Sunday afternoon sometime. It was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
We must have given away like fucking 200 of those things.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a bad problem to have. And you know, I said that.
No, not at all.
Yeah. I mean,
we had probably like 2 pounds of those strawberry bonbons and 2 or 3 pounds of Werthers, and it's just like locusts, man, just descended on them, which was awesome because, like I said, a lot of people came up and were like got a good laugh out of it, which is, you know, making people laugh is always cool. That always feels good. And then like the fact that they were then just like, oh, you guys are funny, I'll check out the podcast as a result of this. Prepare to be let down, but also thank you.
Right. Yeah, it was kind of,
we're much less funny.
Right. Yeah. Just like you said, it kind of made you feel good. Like when it was either like our generation or the generation after us, like, you know, the younger kids, like early 20s, I guess.
The Zoomers.
Yes. They would come by and they'd laugh and they'd take a bag and then a business card or a button, be like, hey Ted, the young folks think we're funny.
The youth.
Right.
Yeah,
the
children.
The youth.
Yeah,
so,
the youths.
Yeah.
My favorite though was the older lady, the actual boomer lady who was not amused at all.
Yes.
I just want to be like, okay, boomer, it's about you. You know?
Right. Yeah. She rolled her eyes so hard they might have popped out of her head, possibly.
Yeah.
But you know,
but that's all right.
It's all right. She's just proving our point.
Gonna like you. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing though that helped was the fact that we were just more presentable in general.
Yeah.
We looked like we were supposed to be there and we're just a couple of guys who commandeered a table at a convention.
Right. Yeah. We had this was our first con where we had a booth and we also had our fancy trade show banner, you know, the big Geek Garage logo, the comic book logo, on the blue dotted background. It just, like you said, we were just overall more presentable. We looked like a thing as opposed to just a couple of weirdos standing behind a table that was completely naked aside from a couple buttons to give away. But yeah, I think pretty much the only thing that didn't work as well as I had hoped. I know that you didn't really have too many reserved feelings about this because QR code technology wasn't something that you were too familiar with. It was something more that I was familiar with, or at least thought I was familiar with. But it was, you know, this poster that I spent way more time on this poster than I did the Keanu Reeves poster. So it only makes sense that the one that was thrown together in like 10, 15 minutes got way more attention than the one I spent like half a day on.
Right.
And, you know, it had basically, you know, a couple cool like colored, you know, logos on comic book like Starburst that said like, you know, help support the podcast, subscribe on, you know, whatever. And then I had QR codes for each of the 4 main platforms for, you know, Apple, Google, Spotify, and YouTube. And then I had the same thing for all our social media, for our email list. And I was under the impression that all you had to do was pull up the camera app on your phone and hover over the QR code.
You were wrong.
And it turns out that that's only native technology as of right now, as of the recording of this podcast, to Apple or to iOS. It's not yet native to Android devices.
Or if it is, nobody knows how to work it.
Right, yeah, so. Because several people with Android phones took out their phone, took out the camera, and hover over it, and nothing happened. And I was like, well, this is only slightly embarrassing. So...
Yeah, you should have just let me give the spiel that it was voodoo. So that would have cleared it all.
Right, yeah.
But, you know, I mean, if that's the worst thing that happened, that's pretty minor, you know, because we gave them plenty of other ways to find us rather than just trying to scan a code that didn't work.
Right. Yeah, it's not,
you know, big ass deal.
Yeah, it's not terribly difficult at all to find us on any of those 4 platforms and any of the other podcast platforms that are out there like Stitcher and Pocket Cast and all that. So.
Sure.
So yeah, what about cosplays? Did you have a favorite cosplay that we saw over the weekend?
I did. I have a couple, but let me just say first, there were a lot of dope cosplays.
There was a lot of dope cosplays. Yeah, people definitely brought their A game to GalaxyCon.
Sure. And I mean, like, I'm no stranger to seeing cosplays. Like I said, I've been to a lot of conventions. Even this year, I've been to a lot of conventions or several conventions. And like, there's always a few people that are like, man, that person is living the fucking gimmick.
Right.
But GalaxyCon was just like, it was basically like the major leagues.
Yeah.
Just about. It was like professionals almost.
Right.
And so some of the people that were in the con in an official capacity were definitely like semi-professional, professional cosplayers. But even just like the fans that were there were bringing their A game for sure.
Right.
I would say it's a toss-up between these two. The first, I think, was the most original cosplay I've ever seen. It was two women that had dressed up as like a cross-play between Disney princesses and fast food restaurants. So there was like the Taco Bell princess and the White Castle princess, which I thought was very funny and very original. I'd never seen anything like that before, which I thought was cool. Unfortunately, I think they're going to just be edged out by the crossplay I saw, the Harley Quinn Mandalorian, that I originally confused for like Captain America Mandalorian. So I called her Captain Mandalorian, and yeah, that was wrong. So she politely corrected me, and she was a good sport about it,
Yeah.
because she was like, "Oh, didn't you see the diamond pattern here, or like the little heart here?" And I was like, "Oh, that makes a lot more sense now." Plus, then when she took her helmet off, she actually had like the ponytail with the red and blue
Right.
tips, like Harley Quinn and I think it was in Suicide Squad had.
Yeah.
So that made a lot more sense. But that was like a dope cosplay. Mandalorian cosplays are always dope looking because the Mandalorian design is sick.
Yeah.
And she had gone all out with like the, like handcrafted body armor and everything. So it was just dope. I thought it was super well done and super interesting. I'd never seen one like that before. So
yeah.
What about you?
Well, I mean, just a first to tack on to both of those, I definitely agree with both. Like the originality of of crossing of Disney princesses against fast food is hilarious. Like just that sentence alone is enough to get pretty much anyone interested. Especially me, because I love Disney princesses and fast food, so I'm in by default, basically. And then regarding the crossplay or whatever of the Mandalorian and Harley Quinn, like one of my favorite parts, which was I thought was a really nice touch, was what you just said about her having like the makeup and her hair and ponytails, because like it's a thing that Mandalorians, they're not supposed to take off their armor or whatever. But you can only walk around a convention with a helmet on for so long. So, if you do have to take off your helmet, why not like represent half of your cosplay while your helmet's off? So if some a-hole,
like I said, man, she was living the gimmick,
right? Yeah. So if some a-hole's gonna come up to you and be like, "You're supposed to have your helmet on, you're a Mandalorian, blah blah blah," then you can actually be like, "Well, this is the other half."
Whip him with one of your pigtails, motherfuckers.
Pow! Chow! Hit you with your own pimp. So yeah, I thought that was a really nice touch that she was basically, for the face, for the head area, she was Harley Quinn when you take off the helmet. So that was really cool. I would have to say I had a couple as well, but my top one has to be Arya from Game of Thrones. I didn't get her name because I complimented her on her cosplay, and she kind of she said thank you and kept on walking. And just like we said with all the other people, no one was obligated in any sense to stick around at our booth or say hi to us or anything.
Sure.
So I didn't.
She was in like a group, so I definitely understand like her just being like, okay, thanks, and keeping it moving. Like she was polite about it. Like I didn't feel like it was dismissive, but at the same time, like I totally get her being like, we're on to the next thing.
Right. Whatever. Yeah, but just from my quick glance at her costume, I loved that it seemed like at least part of it was DIY or put together, but it looked legit. Like it looked exactly like what Arya wore at the Battle of Winterfell. And yeah, Arya was just my favorite character to begin with from Game of Thrones. Close second, Jon Snow, but yeah,
he knows nothing.
Right, he knows nothing. And yeah, but so Arya probably my favorite, and then Hagrid was a lot of fun. I know we had a good laugh about Hagrid. He
on stilts.
Right,
that was hardcore.
Yeah, he was on stilts, and we you stood up. I forgot exactly what you said. You were like, "There's not enough room for both of us."
Oh yeah, I was like, I stood up, and like we were basically eye level at that point.
Right.
I was like, "There's not enough room here for both of us, boss." And he got a good laugh about it. We talked for a few minutes, and because they just happened to be stopped in line kind of right in front of our booth. So he was a good dude. I can't remember his name, but he was a solid guy. I think that was his wife or girlfriend that was with him.
Sure.
She was very nice as well. But they were dope. There were a lot of good cosplays just in general.
Right.
Like I said, or like we both said, there were a lot of people that really showed up and showed out. I think those were just kind of our favorites. But there were a lot of great Doctor Who's
Mm-hmm.
as well, because I think David Tennant was there for a meet and greet.
Yep.
So a lot of people dressed up as him from Doctor Who. A lot of Princess Bride characters, because a couple of the actors from that
Yep.
were at the convention as well. So like Wesley and Princess Buttercup came up and talked to us for a while. I can't remember her name, but she was there for a while. And oh my God, My Hero Academia is like a movement at
Yes.
this
Yeah.
point.
It's just that's our default answer to any cosplay that we don't know anymore. We decided just, hey, we don't know that cosplay. It must be from My Hero Academia. Because
You would be surprised how often that's actually the fucking case.
right,
Though.
yeah, like we joke, but it's not a bad fallback plan.
Yeah. Um, there were so many people. Like I straight up, there was basically like a My Hero Academia army
Yeah.
roving around.
Yeah,
That was very cool. A lot of Harry Potter.
yep.
That's always a popular one.
Yeah, Spider-Man
A
and
surprising amount of Spider Gwen. I saw one Spider Gwen. I didn't get a chance to catch her name, but she had like the hair exactly right,
oh
like with the
yeah,
dye and the shave side. And
right.
I was just like, "Yo, sister, living the gimmick for real."
Yeah,
Prop. And she was like, "Thank you." You know, I was like, "No, but for real, like you put in, like you went the extra mile." A lot of people were just like, "Oh, I'll just put the mask on." But she was like full on, like she had her hair. I was like, Jesus, that's
commitment.
more than I've ever put. That's more effort than I've ever put into anything. You know,
Right.
like she's out here doing it for real.
Nah,
And then of course a lot of Mandalorians.
yeah, for sure. Like you said, Mandalorian armor, it's badass in its own right.
It's dope.
And
I'm not even a huge Star Wars guy, and it's dope.
right, and you know, Boba Fett has always kind of been one of those really popular like fan favorites, and especially now that the Disney Plus show Mandalorian is out and it's doing really well, getting really good reviews and fan reactions. It was pretty natural to see a lot of Mandalorian armor out there, which was cool because there was a lot of different stuff to see. You know, like the cross play of Harley Quinn and the Mandalorian armor. So that was cool.
For sure. Do you want to do some shout outs for everybody that
Yeah,
came by
yeah.
and
We
all
we
that?
have a few to get through.
Yeah, so to give a quick preface to this, we tried to remember everybody that came by and gave us a business card, or we're like, hey, let's get some cross promo going, or just came by and talked to us for an extended period of time. I think we got everybody, but if we did not, please do not take offense. The whole weekend was a blur. Plus, we're old, and I've been hit in the head like 1,000 times, so I don't remember shit anyway.
Same
We
fam.
same, fade me fam. We do plan to do like a blog post and or like a social media post that has everybody and their links, because a lot of you, like I said, did give us business cards. And you're like, hey, I do art, or like I'm a cosplayer, or like, just give me a shout out here. So we will do that. Like I said, we'll do probably a blog post and then like a social media post as well. So um, if we don't say your name, if you listen to the podcast and you're like, hey, assholes, I came by, send us a shout on Twitter or Facebook or wherever, and, we'll add you to the list for sure. Again, it's
Yeah.
nothing personal. It's just we met so many awesome people, and, I wrestled forever, and, like, I've been hit in the head 1,000 times, so, like, I'm dumb on top of all that. There's just so many excuses I could use. But
Right.
first, thank you to the people that came by our booth. Dylan, who was the first person we ever met in real life that listened to the podcast that we didn't already know. Gail,
Yes.
expert seamstress, the conglomeration Sci-Fi Con in Louisville, one of their reps came by. Roman, artist and Spider-Man cosplayer. Tyler from the Nerd.Guide, solid dude. We chatted for a while about, just trying to get your podcast or your blog off the ground and get a following. Shannon, civil rights lawyer in Louisville and huge Trekkie. She was super dope. We talked for a while. The people from Fairy Tale Fair, and then the people from Cosplay United. All of those were solid. Thank you all for coming by and talking for a while, as well as just the people that came by and talked who didn't have anything, who were just at the con.
Right.
Thank you all. That was, again, deeply humbling and very cool of you to swing by and talk to two random dudes from Nashville. That was very cool.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, and then the second set of shout outs that we have were the artists that were kind of in our general vicinity, and or the artists and vendors just in general that kind of either came by the booth or we went by theirs and we picked up their business card and say like, hey, we're gonna do a follow up episode, kind of unpacking all of our different feelings and summarizing how our trip went, and they were willing to let us give them a shout out. So this is this is kind of like their section. So the first up we have Stephen O'Pry. He's an author. He did I think the book is called Zombie Earth, and it's about zombies.
Yes.
It's relatively
Very
straightforward. You
well
can check.
titled. Yeah.
Yes, you can check him out on Facebook at facebook.com/zombie earth. I believe there's a link there to go buy his book if you want to buy it online. It seems really cool. We weren't able to get a copy, but we read a quick summary, and it seems like a really dope novel.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So next up we have Mike Olm, who's an illustrator and artist. You can find his work at mikeolm.com. He does a lot of different kinds of stuff. He had like a huge array of like prints and stickers and buttons and all kinds of different stuff. And like it was all not in different styles necessarily, but like different influences. Like he had some that were like realistic Pokemon, or like what Pokemon would look like if they were like a real creature on Earth. He had some that he called, I think, like the Good Boys of Chicago. That was just like dog drawings that were very dope. And he was just
Right.
a solid guy. We were able to talk. Like I said, he was kind of right next to us in the booth, so we talked a little bit over the weekend. Just cool dude in general.
Yeah, for sure. He was really neat. Excuse me. Next up, we have Corden Gamer Association, aka Critical Hits. They're located at cga.doodlekit.com. This guy, I can't remember his name. I don't know if it was on the card that he gave us or not. Ted, do you remember his name by chance?
Unfortunately, I do not.
Yeah. But yeah, if you just want to go to the website, cga.doodlekit.com, they are probably one of Ted and I's favorites that we ran into over the weekend. I don't want to try and play favorites or anything, but this is, it's a nonprofit, and they have a setup where people can go and like play tabletop games like D&D and other RPGs, and they also teach like really important life skills. So it's almost like a place where all different walks of life, especially the underprivileged, can go and just have a community to lean on, as far as like
Yeah.
being into nerdy stuff and just needing a community in general. And we were just like so incredibly taken aback by their mission overall. We're just like, that is a fucking incredible idea. And
Yeah, I wish I could remember the man's name who came by and talked to us, but he was super cool and pitched it in a much more succinct way than either one of us could. But
sure, but yeah, definitely check them out, especially if you're located in that area. So yeah.
Yeah. Next, we have Marilyn Barr, who is a paranormal romance author, which sounds dope as shit, to be
Right.
honest with you. I'm not really
Yeah,
into
that's
romance, but like, that sounds cool.
I mean, that's like
You
my
know,
new favorite book genre, just by
right.
default.
I know, right? Like I said, I don't think I've ever read like a straight romance novel, but like, I would check it out. Like, you've got ghosts and shit. I'm down. I'm down.
There's
You can
ghosts in
find
your
her,
blood. You should do cocaine about it.
do cocaine about it.
Yeah.
You can find her work at marilynbarr.com. That's Marilyn, BARR, bar.com.
Right. Next up, we have Braxton Gaither. He was a artist and illustrator. He's located at braxtondraws.com. And this Braxton, he was kind of diagonal from us, and unfortunately, we didn't have a whole lot of time to chat with him. We mainly got to know him when the con was winding down Sunday evening, and we were
Right.
kind of like making last ditch efforts to go talk to people. We just did not have the opportunity to.
Yeah, he was super, super cool. He had a skateboard deck that he had done, that he had on display. I don't know if it was for sale or not. I don't think it was because I didn't see a price on it. And,
Yeah.
it was just up there for display. But it was like, we were both kind of like, how'd you do that? And he's like, I sanded that motherfucker down, crushed up some, like, colored pencils and vegetable oil and painted it right on there. I was like, that's the most badass shit I've ever heard in my life, dude.
Right. Yeah. We were both just like, just like, wow, we just
Yeah,
how did you do that? And plus,
right.
like, I think the majority of his work and his favorite medium is just ink work, like just black
Mhm.
ink, and that's primarily what he gave us in terms of, you know, the trade for our stupid ass buttons. You know, he gave us some ink work, and it's just out of this world. It has like this surrealist touch to it almost. It kind of reminds me a little
It's
bit
all
of
kind of
like,
like macabre,
yeah,
I would say.
yeah.
But not like overly like gory or it's not like
No,
super graphic. It's just it's
no.
so fucking dope. Check out his work for sure. Um, I did also love his quote where he was like, "Yeah, I mostly listen to fucked up shit and then draw fucked up shit." I was like, "All right, a man after my own heart." Like,
Right, yeah. That
solid dude.
sounds like a winning formula to me.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, Behind him in the booth was also, I guess, his partner, Colleen Cernick. She is also an artist. She does portraiture, floral paintings, and various works in watercolor.
Hmm.
You can find her at colleencernick.com, COLLEENCERNIK, colleencernick.com. I will say that she looked like she had a lot of people come by and check out her stuff, and she definitely stood out. Like just in our area, it was a lot of people that their art wasn't all the same. Like, you know, it didn't like they all definitely had their own style, but it was all very much like kind of what you would expect in a lot of ways, like
Right,
comic characters or movie characters, sci-fi stuff, and it was
right.
all good. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, they all had definitely had like unique style and distinctive style, but like just the fact that her stuff was like bright and like watercolors and floor paintings, like it stood out. And like I said, she looked like she had a lot of people over there checking it out, and obviously they should have been because her work is fucking sick.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, if you get a chance, definitely go check out her work on her website. I think she has an Instagram as well. I'm a huge fan of watercolor works. I haven't gotten a chance to do a whole lot of it, mainly because I'm intimidated by it, and I'm just not a talented artist. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. So yeah, definitely go check her out. Um, the gentleman next to us, to my left, was not like direction really matters, but you know, whatever. His name was Ross Hayes. You can find him at Ross Hayes Design on Instagram. He had a really interesting and really cool collection of different illustrations. It almost like he enjoyed doing different styles all at once, or not like in one artwork, but you know, like he had all of his examples of his work and stuff you can kind of flip through on at his booth. And I mean, Ted, did it seem like to you that there was like various stylings within his artwork?
Yeah, that dude is like super diverse in terms of like the different styles he worked in. Like he had
Right.
a lot of like pulpy, hard sci-fi stuff that reminded me of maybe like Heavy Metal Magazine
Hmm.
or some of those like 70s sci-fi magazines. But he also had stuff that was like he had his own iteration of like Pokemon drawings that were really popular. He had like stuff. He had one that was of Elvira,
Right.
uh, like just a bunch of different stuff. He had like a huge doodle pad with him too. So throughout the weekend, he was doing different stuff. And um, excuse me, like you know, he had one that was like Captain America, and then he had one that was like Batman. So he had like the typical um comic book stuff, but you know, he also had one that had me fucking just about in tears, where it was like the actually meme guy,
Right.
that was like he had that the quote was like, actually anime is better dubbed in English, and a lot of people stopped and were like pissed in
Right.
like a jokey way, which I was just like, that's so fucking good, why didn't we think of that? But
Right.
yeah, and a solid dude. You know, it was nice to have somebody around us that was like old like
Yeah.
us,
Oh,
that could relate to like what the fuck is happening. Like,
right. Yeah. Like I'm there was definitely a very diverse set of artists in the artist alley as far as age goes, but around us, I felt like primarily they were a little on the younger side, like between 20 to like maybe late 20s. So, you know, not as old as, you know, like 33
yeah,
and 34 or whatever. Um,
yeah.
so it was neat to talk to someone who, you know, had a tiny bit more life experience, and to the point where we can kind of relate a little bit more on certain things. So
Yeah. Plus, it seemed like he was sort of in a similar space as we were in terms of like just getting out there in the con scene, so to
sure.
speak, and like kind of just starting out with trying to get booths and stuff. So it was cool to talk about like his experience with that and compare it to ours and like just swap ideas with one another to see like, well, this worked for us, maybe it'll work for you, and vice versa.
Yeah, for sure. All right, are we ready to go on to our last one and maybe possibly put our beef aside?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I've had a week to kind of decompress,
Yeah.
and let this one go. I'm a man of my word. I said we would squash it, so we're going
All
to.
right.
Um, although being called a boomer, that's gonna sting for a while.
I mean, not to mention the
It's gonna
fact
hurt.
that it's
It's gonna
not
hurt me
entirely
deeply.
accurate, but
It's also not true, exactly. So that made it hurt even worse. But the Miserable Arts group across from us, that's not a knock. That's literally Miserable Arts is the name of their
right.
um, that was the name of the
Yep.
booth and company. So it was three nice young ladies that were across from us. I'm using the term nice very loosely here. But Maria, who is the head, and you can find her on Instagram at Miserable Arts. It was her
Mhm.
booth, and she was like the artist running it.
Right.
She did have her two friends with her who were moral support and also artists in their own
Yeah.
right. Rachel Watts, you can find her on YouTube at youtube.com/Rachel Anime Adventure, or on Instagram at Rachel's Random Artwork. Um, she does a lot of different stuff as well. Plus, she has, like I said, that YouTube channel that's got about 4 billion followers. It look like I think like 30% of the population of the Earth follows
Right.
her on
Yeah.
fucking YouTube. It's
Yeah,
insane.
I checked it out like after the con. Like that's I went through all the business cards and people's info that they gave us, and I was just knocking them out one by one, like subscribing or following whatever their first call to action was. And I get to her, and I was like, okay. And I went to her YouTube, and it was like 6 point something thousand subs, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, we should have been talking to her the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Why weren't we like trying to get ideas from her? Because she's clearly fucking succeeding where we're just like, podcast, listen,
Right.
like fucking
Yeah.
cavemen. And then finally, the one that called me a boomer, who this is gonna be the hardest to squash the beef with, especially because like I was like, damn, she likes the Wu-Tang Clan, so this hurts even doubly that like we're fighting about this because that's my jam.
Right.
But Zaylee, you can find her on Instagram at Morticia_X. She also had a very sick Frankenstein tattoo, and she's big into roller derby as the Ghostface Hitta, which is a great name and plays along with the Wu-Tang stuff.
Yeah.
So it hurts the most that she was the meanest. Honestly,
Yeah, but
I just don't
right,
know
but it also
something.
makes sense that she would be ruthless because she's into roller derby. I mean that
Yes, and the Wu-Tang Clan. So it makes
she's
perfect
a
sense, I
she's
guess.
a hard
But
motherfucker.
yeah, she is, in fact, a badass.
Yeah.
But it was cool. They were super nice from basically the second we got there Friday morning. Like really outgoing, and I was shocked because I wouldn't want to talk to me. So the fact that they were like talking to us the whole time and like just super cool, and teaching us all the new youth lingo
Right.
that the
Yes.
children's use.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was very cool. So they're all dope. Check out their work. We gave them a T-shirt, and she gave us a Dragon Ball print that David stole. So that was dope.
I did not steal it. I will bring it to you. I promise.
Sure. But yeah, they were super awesome. The whole con was super awesome. It exceeded even my wildest. I didn't really have expectations, but it definitely exceeded like my wildest expectations.
Yeah, we didn't. We went in and we were both talking like we didn't know what to expect, and we just decided because of that, like to set the expectations at zero, not to be like pessimist or negative. We just wanted to go in with like a fresh, clean slate and just be like, okay, this is the bar that we're going to kind of set everything at, and just whatever happens, we're just going to do our best, and then we'll take this as a learning experience no matter what happens. And man, like just like you said, it fucking blew all of our non-existent expectations out of the water.
Yeah. So it's going to be tough for our next con to top that. So I think we should talk about what our next con is going to be
Yeah, that's
at
a
this
good
point.
segue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah. So
go ahead.
as of now, our next scheduled con is going to be Evil Con in Evansville, Indiana. We have actually met them before. They were at a KaiCon in the booth next to us, making us look fucking bad. So really, they're to blame for us getting our shit together. So thank you for that. Also, Robert, the head of the con, came
Yep.
by our booth and was like, "Don't I know you guys?" And then we were like, "Oh shit, yeah, we do know you." And we talked for a while, and we ended up just being like, he basically invited us to EvilCon and was like, "Yeah, if you guys want, email me and reach out." So David went by and talked to him on Sunday. I was like, I think David and I talked about it first, and then he went and talked to Robert Sunday, like I said, and was like, "Yeah, dude, we're fucking in. We definitely love to have a booth and come up there." So that's in April, I think, March or April.
Yeah, end of March.
Yeah, we'll get all the details figured out, and of course, just like we do with GalaxyCon, we'll talk about it until you're sick of fucking hearing about it leading up to it. But come say what's up, check us out there. Also, just check out the con, because all the people that we've met that are involved with it, like I said, Robert heads it up, as well as a couple of other people that were in the booth that we've met and talked to. They're super nice, super cool. So I'm very excited to be a part of that. I think we might also host a panel.
Yeah, that is also a possibility.
That was something that was talked about.
Yeah, Robert actually was the one that threw that out there. He was like, "Would you be interested in hosting a panel?" We're like, "Sure." Before that, it was something that you and I had tossed around if we ever had the opportunity to, and like what we might do. And this kind of put us like deer in the headlights. We were like, okay, we need to get this shit figured out now.
Yeah. So it is EvilCon, so EVILLE, like Evil, this like a city, Evil Con 2020 in Evansville, Indiana. It is March 20th through the 22nd, that weekend in Evansville. It's apparently 111 days away, according to their website. It is
Their counter.
Yeah, their counter on the website. It is the Year of the Cat, apparently, is their theme. I'm looking at their website right now, and first of all, their website's dope, but they also, it looks like they got a lot of cool shit going on. I'm very stoked to be involved in this and to have been invited.
Yeah.
So check it out. Their website is evilcon.com. Again, that's EVILLECON.com. Check it out. I'm excited. David's excited. We went way over the allotment that we were going to do this episode for. So we rock. Not really. We're okay.
Right.
But
yeah.
Thank you again to everybody at GalaxyCon, including the three awful people who were across from us, who I'm doing a terrible job of squashing the bees with, all the super talented artists that were around us, all the people who came by the booth, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, it was dope. I had a lot of fun. Thank you to everybody. David, we got to go to the movies like now. Our movie's starting in like 25 minutes. So
yeah. All right. Well, yes.
Wrap this one up.
Right, yeah. Thank you so much to everyone at the convention. Like Ted said, thank you for tuning in to this episode. And as always, be kind, stay geeky, and eat lots of cheesecake. Bye.